all our esteemed speakers for today's webinar and to all our participants to this webinar on adoption of frontier technologies by DISCOMs, myths, challenges, and way forward. This is a webinar being organized jointly by India Smart Grid Forum and Amazon Web Services. And to start the program, I would like to I would like to invite Mr. Reji Kumar Pillai, President, India Smart Grid Forum, Chairman, Global Smart Energy Forum, to kindly deliver a welcome address to our speakers and participants. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all the participants from around the world. We are really delighted to have this webinar in partnership with or in association with Amazon Web Services. We have a lineup of experts from utilities in India as well as experts from Amazon Web Services talking about the digitalization and the new infrastructure and services which are available to the world today. And many of these systems were available even 5 years, 10 years ago, but people were afraid of using that. That is all about the topic about the myths and the so COVID. ISGF for last 10 years been advocating for digitalization, but in the business as usual scenario, things would have taken another decade or so for our utilities to become paperless. But post-COVID, within 2 months, nobody wants paper anymore. Every work can be done on an email. So full paperless operation of the utilities is happening, and it happened. And many places these are supported by cloud services. So infrastructure as a service or maturing to platform as a service and software as a service was always there for a long time. So software as a service business today is estimated to be in 2020 about $158 billion and expected to grow to over $300 billion in next 5 to 6 years. So this is a major shift, major drive which we are seeing. Why it's happening so much? It's basically the procurement of new services. When you procure IT systems, IT services, infrastructure, platform, and software as a service, the entire method is different. The entry cost is very low. Earlier, you had to buy all the systems and implement in your own premises, which did cost in millions of dollars, and the decisions used to happen at CIO or CEO level. Today, at few thousands of dollars per month, the decision can happen at the IT manager level or even at the business service manager level. It need not go to any committees or higher level. So it is so faster to procure, faster to deploy. And these systems are also very agile, meaning that it can be altered to fit your emerging business needs without going for new hardware changes or for reinstalling or upgrading the software systems. It is scalable. It can be scaled as the business grows, and it is very cost effective, and it fits every need. A mom and pop business to a MNC with hundreds of thousands of people working. There's a model for each one size of it, and it is so efficient, and it is no physical limitations of your IT in-house IT systems or your manpower, and it can be accessed from anywhere. This is mobile first, and most important of all, particularly from the electric utility perspective, the cyber security of all these applications are managed by trained professionals in these agencies. So everything is now moving as a service, not only just platform, infrastructure or platform or just software, even applications, analytics as a service, artificial intelligence as a service, big data as a service, blockchain as a service, IoT as a service. Everything is moving into the services model, and welcome to the new world of everything as a service. I have the pleasure of welcoming our partners from AWS, Deepti, and Mr. And also my friend and colleague from National Smart Grid Mission, Mr. Arun Mishra, and Rajiv Pharlia from PFC, and Mr. AP Singh from UPPCL, and Mr. Gadkari from MSEDCL. So they are the panelists today, and they will, each one of them will be delivering and giving you more information. So over to the experts to take this forward. Thank you. Back to you, Reena.
Thank you, sir, for delivering the welcome address. And with that, I would request our Mr. Arun Kumar Mishra, Director in PMU, Ministry of Power, Government of India, for a special address. Mr. Mishra is currently serving as the Director for Project Management Unit of National Smart Grid Mission under the Ministry of Power. And NSGM aims to accelerate smart grid deployments in India, and we will hear more from Mr. Mishra about the initiatives and the plans for digitalizing the utilities. Over to you, sir.
Hello, thank you, Ms. Reena, and thank you, Mr. Reji, for having me here. Service, and that to be cloud service for IT. I'm really happy personally to be here that I started exploring this as a solution somewhere in August 2018, or rather October 2018, while having a seminar by AWS. And the whole idea was that yes, there are challenges around these solutions, but if there is an incremental add-on to a solution, and what Mr. Reji has said, if the services can be started in a small numbers rather than waiting for the big bang millions of meters, rather than you can start with 50,000, 20,000, one circle, once down at a time. So that's where I came in contact with AWS, and I did encourage them to go ahead and have a smart meter based services and have local partnership. But of course, they should go ahead and start exploring not only for them but establishing a market. So yes, I'm happy for this to come to a stage at National Smart Grid Mission, and personally as an experienced professional for IT solution in all the utility sector. My take has been that this is not the core business of utilities. The core business of utilities is giving power, making power available to the consumer as much as they want, when they want it, and they should focus on that utility. And today, they cannot really serve that function without a IT solutions in good measure. You just cannot, you just do not know what is the state of affairs without monitoring, control, and influencing the entire set. So my take has been that utility should focus on giving services, and as far as IT is concerned, that should be outsourced. But it is easier said than done. Given that our utilities, which are government owned, majority of them, and there is a fear, there is a, what should I say, a sense of ownership, and of course, sometimes it is more of a, the way we do the business, we can do it. So there is a confidence among the practitioners, and not misplaced, given the fact that they have been the cream de la cream when they started their career 20 years, 15 years back. But can they prepare a team around it? I have a big doubt. So my advice has been always to start with partnerships, and I started this initiative sometime in 2013-14 when we were building control centers for ULDC phase 2 for northern region, where we encouraged and had a buy-in from say state of Uttar Pradesh or a state of Rajasthan to have their control center shared with the state of Delhi, and that kind of limited in-house but agreement that they can outsource. The things need not be under their control, and that was a smaller beginning, but that that challenged a barrier. And my experience around that has been that utility professionals, they will buy into these services provided they have a confidence on the way they see is their responsibility. If that responsibility is exercised through platforms or through web services, they have a first fear and doubt whether it will be feasible, whether the service provider be giving me services as required, whether I'll be able to answer all my questions, and will I be caught. And if they are having any doubt, they will go the classical way, and that's definitely there are challenges, and there will be delays the minimum which happens there, but there are failures as well. So my take has been that software as a service should be the way forward, and utilities are ripe for it. We are talking in terms of populating and remote monitoring and control more than 4,000 cities, more than 95,000 feeders, and trying to get all the value which cannot be seen, what kind of calculation, what kind of intelligence will be required at the time of procurement. So these are, if they are taken as a service, they are much better. Having said that, there is a challenge, and utility as well as service provider will have to be conscious of it. Number one and foremost is there is always that incremental change to the scope, and that has to be tied up. There has to be ways forward to handle it. And while it is easier to embark on these changes, it is difficult to sustain, in the sense you have to think it through. What happens 5 years down the line, 7 years down the line, when you are looking for upgrade, when you are looking for changes if required, will you be in a position to confidently say, yes, we will have a very good competitive price from our existing service provider? There will be a good competition among the new as well as existing service provider. Now, those kind of questions, when they start asking today, they are not really mature in terms of what is the right question. And that's where I have encouraged AWS contact person that go ahead, explore, but explore with a view that there will be 2-3 competitors. Encourage your competitors as well to build it as a standard service. And as an initiative from National Smart Grid Mission, we have taken up the issue with Telecom Standards Development Society of India with reference to their 5G initiative, that let us go ahead and build a 5G as well as cloud standardization platform. Now, standardization requirement, at least a minimum of them, so that those can be applied while buying the services of cloud for utilities. So I am for it. It is the way to go, and this is the only solution, the way I see, in terms of today's challenges around cybersecurity, where the utilities are struggling to find the right kind of IT skill for actually saying efficiently consuming and deploying IT services, so that they actually leverage IT for delivering their power responsibility, let alone managing those IT services over a period of time. And when it comes to cybersecurity, where the adversary, if is focusing on you, has much more resources than a government-owned utility, where a skill set, the people required, and even the service buyout, they have a step function, and they need to be knowing what they are asking, and that's not possible in case of zero-day attack and things like that. So those are the challenges where I see the cloud services as the only solution. I am happy that this initiative has reached at this stage, and I look forward to a continued interaction as well as dialogue around cloud services. so that the utilities have the ability to focus on delivering power in these difficult times, as well as in changing times where they don't have support of fossil fuel generators, and they'll have to be managing the renewable as well as the dynamic loads. So thank you for bringing this issue, and congratulations, and I look forward to a continued sustainable effort on keeping the dialogue around cloud services. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mishra, for your special address and for all your support in this regard. With that, we will have our next esteemed speaker, Mr. Ajay Kaul. He's the head of Head States and Local Government from Amazon Internet Services Private Limited. He is he's heading the business for AISPL, and he's an accomplished leader with more than 2 decades of multifaceted experience in the IT industry. Mr. Kaul, may I invite you for a special address? Over to you.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. First of all, let me thank the ISGF to put whole of this forum together. Much needed with all the relevant stakeholders in this domain. I think it's a much required forum to have. And I allude to almost all the points that Mr. Mishra said, so much in line with the fact that, all the domains should focus on their core expertise. And this is the usual example I give to many customers. It's like, today when I get electricity at my home, at my office, or any commercial establishment, I'm not really bothered, where it gets generated, how does it get transported. All I know is that I switch it on and I can use it to my advantage. Likewise, IT services has to be seen in the same light. If you need any kind of the IT requirement, be it compute, be it storage, be it network, be it any services around that, to manage whole lot of data analytics or whatever it could be, you should be able to literally switch on the button on a click of a button, and you should get all the services right away. Having said that, let me start by saying that Indian power sector is dominated, or has been dominated rather, by conventional sources of energy, be it coal, be it diesel, gas, nuclear, and all of that. But there has been a progressive shift that has been happening and started towards renewable sources, be it wind or solar. While there is still a long way to go, but the good news is that it has got initiated. And India has set ambitious long-term targets for its electricity sector, including 450 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030, which represents almost about 55% of planned capacity. It's a very, very tall ask, and at the same time, we truly believe that we should be able to meet it, if not at least come close to that, given the whole lot of things that are happening today across various utility organizations. As a prerequisite for this country to achieve these renewable targets and sustain its economic growth targets, the power distribution sector, the DISCOMs, will need to make transformational changes. And this is required to improve the sectoral's operational and commercial performance to make it sizable, and also the impact which has to be sustained and felt across the board. And digital transformation and adopting modern technologies like cloud is going to be very, very crucial enabler to this transformational change. All of us would know that some of the unique challenges or risk factors that come across in this sector are unique in its own ways. Be it the constantly evolving regulatory needs, be it requirements that vary significantly around the regions, the geographical dimensions that we have in our country, be it highly dynamic security threat landscapes that we have seen in the recent past also taking place at various instances. We have also felt the erroneous reporting and documentation leads to huge amount of losses. And if that was not sufficient, I think the COVID pandemic has also taught us new, ways by which we will not be able to either collect the dues and so on and so forth. And the limited speciality around the compliance and so on and so forth. So we think it's a time that we need to look at adopting cloud, which can help us, sorry, transform and innovate in multiple areas. Be it on digital channels, be it on hyper computing performances, be it on agile data analytics. In fact, all the DISCOMs have humongous quantum of consumer data, and there can be a lot of value based, outcome based work done by analyzing it in different ways, different forms and shapes, and the same data can be used to see how do we derive a lot more value, from the consumers who are the final users of the service. There are latest technologies today that can help us do a whole lot of things, be it the AIML intervention, be it the blockchain intervention. I think there's a lot that can be achieved by leveraging some of these technology areas, and they can prove to literally offtake the current position where the DISCOMs are to a whole new level. In fact, there are a lot many use cases that we have globally with on AWS, but if I have to restrict to this country again, there are two large DISCOMs that have already started this journey. One of the DISCOMs is already moved leaps and bounds in this journey, and there are clearly seen outcomes that have been felt and shared. And there are others which are on the journey. The recent one, there has been a progress that has been made. So we are seeing that this is no more a journey that any DISCOM is not sure of. I think it's a matter of some more time. Given the understanding of the technology getting obsolete, it's as simple as anything that gets innovated today would be obsolete tomorrow. So given the pace at which things are changing, I don't think DISCOMs, or for that matter, any of the corporations in this domain would be able to keep pace. And secondly, it's not restricted to one particular area only. It is the entire ecosystem that has to be in sync, be it on the security aspect, the way and the pace at which the security threats are showing new kind of faces every day. It becomes very, very important that we have the technology and infrastructure in very, very safe hands, so that there are absolutely zero interventions that happen on that front. Likewise, how fast and how soon can we make technology available today to businesses? Again, I'm referring to the pandemic times where situation has been so different, which we have never felt before. But at the same time, I think it has also made us understand that if there is one thing that can withstand any kind of a crisis, it is the highest level of technology that can keep the light bulbs on, irrespective of whatever crisis can hit. And that's what the expectations are today, be it from any kind of a consumer, be it on the commercial front or on the consumer front. The time has come when nobody expects literally any zero downtime. And that's possible only when there are highest levels of technologies that gets leveraged end to end. It is not only in one particular sector it has to be looked at, but since DISCOMs play a very, very crucial role in the overall life cycle of the power sector, I think that's where it becomes even more important. And the outcomes by virtue of modernizing technology in DISCOMs can help the overall power sector by many ways. At AWS, we look at basically 4 ways through which the outcomes can really make a big impact. Whether it is the customer engagement and insights. Not only would we be able to get fix any kind of leakages that may be there or any kind of losses that may be there, but it will also help us to create new revenue streams, and that becomes a very, very crucial factor for DISCOMs to evaluate as we move forward. The second could be the overall IT transformation. There are huge inroads that one can make by such transformation by virtue of having the improved agility. Costs can drastically come down because now one does not need to provision for capacities which one is not sure of. Corporations can actually look at a scale and pay as per the capacities that get utilized. And over a period of time, by virtue of optimizations that happen, the costs actually come down over a period of time. So that is the way it helps the organizations to not look at the traditional way of budgeting large capexes to be built in for any kind of a technology intervention or an adoption. So that is a huge dynamic shift that happens by virtue of cloud adoption. On the OT transformation front, needless to say, the kind of operational excellence it provides is absolutely matchless. And I could be saying with confidence that one, there is almost every kind of a service that gets taken care of, and two, as a user, you have the right to demand a seamless, execution and demand being met. So there's nothing called as a downtime on the IT front when it is on the cloud. There's nothing called as an SLA that is anything lower than 99.995 or maybe even more, depending on how critical application you want to run. And if that is not enough, the humongous amount of benefit it derives on the work and asset value management is going to be a huge value add, because you actually create more value from your existing assets and workforce through analytics and machine learning capabilities that you now focus on. So we're actually elevating the workforce's value add to the organization by not looking at things that are mundane, that are required to be done on a daily basis, but we actually elevate their productivity on things which are at much elevated levels and definitely provide a higher value. I would only request people on this forum to let us know if there are areas that we can help you with specifically, where there are engagements already existing today with different DISCOMs across the country. But we'll be more than happy to have detailed discussions. And all I would say in my closing remark is that adoption of cloud is not like buying a product. It's not like buying a commodity. It's more like a journey that an organization undertakes. So it has to have a well in-depth association with the partner who is more of a trusted advisor and works together as part of the overall plan. I understand the government functioning. I understand the government way of working, but all that is absolutely taken care of. It's not about just a DISCOM looking at moving few baby steps on one application front or on one area front. I think it's a overall life cycle management that has to be looked at. Yes, it can be staggered in terms of how the migration plans could be worked out, but in the end, I think it elevates the whole organization to all new and sets a newer standards as we move forward to meet the India's objective of renewable energy requirements that we all plan to meet by end of 2030. So with that, thank you once again for giving us this opportunity. And I wish this forum all the very best in times ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kaul, for such an insightful address. And we hope we have very insightful deliberations during the session, and we are able to take this forum forward with our experts giving us insights on how to move forward. So with that, I would now request, can we have the PPT, Shani? So now we'd like to request our next speaker for today's session, Mr. Yogesh Gadkari from MSEDCL. Mr. Gadkari is the Executive Director, Billing and Revenue with MSEDCL. And MSEDCL, as we all know, is one of the largest power utilities in India with over 270 million consumers. And Mr. Gadkari is having 30 plus years of experience in IT and brings with him over 25 years of experience in areas like utility billing, SCADA, energy accounting, substation automation, and to the name few. So with that, I would now request Mr. Gadkari to kindly make a presentation and share his experiences on cloud and digitalization. Over to you, Mr. Gadkari.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'll share the presentation. Yeah, is it visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah. So I have structured the presentation in a way. First, I'll be talking about a few slides about MSEDCL, then the drivers for MSEDCL's cloud adaptation, then the cloud procurement and migration processes, and some use cases. Just to tell you about the MSEDCL's vision, MSEDCL's vision is to supply reliable and quality power at a reasonable and affordable tariff in order to boost agriculture and industrial sector of the Maharashtra with the overall economic development. At the same time, we commit to honesty, integrity, and transparency in all our business. We also commit to being consumer-centric organization, and we'll be working as a trustee for our consumers. We'll adopt the IT and the technology in all our business processes, and we'll be focusing towards the continuous improvement, and we will be a learning organization. And finally, we'll strive for reduction in loss of human life due to any electrical accidents. This is just a brief about MSEDCL. MSEDCL is, as you all know, is the second largest utility in Asia after Republic of China, and supplying electricity to nearly 30 millions of consumers. And those are spread across 3 lakh square kilometer of area. And these are being served by around 70,000 employees. The annual sales of MSEDCL is 1 lakh MUs nearly, and the revenue is roughly 80 to 85,000 crores per annum. The peak load for the last year was nearly 19 gigawatt. This organization structure is like head office, then regional, which is more or less similar with all distribution utilities. So I'll not spend much time on this. This is consumer mix and load mix of the MSEDCL. Our collection efficiency for last year was nearly 94%, with distribution losses nearly 16%. So now coming to the main subject, as in MSEDCL, almost all business processes, 100% business is being done through the IT systems. So there are roughly 70 odd IT applications at present in MSEDCL. These all applications are evolved over the period. So you can see that these applications, since they are evolved over the period, they have been developed on the various platforms. So we have the database like Oracle, Sybase, SQL Server, then even MySQL. And for application side, there are Java, .NET, mobile applications, SAP ERP. So there is a complete heterogeneous application stack, and all these application stacks are integrated with each other. These are other application level. So right from the new consumers application to the consumers meter reading, billing, collection, everything has been through the system only. There isn't any manual process. Even for the vendors and contractors of MSEDCL, the from the tendering to the project closure, and in between the all the invoicing and everything is through the system. For the contractor at the last office, that is in the rural area, even a grass cutting contractors, the payment is done through the IT system only. And at the same time, there are the other systems which are taking care about energy accounting, then the mobile apps, then automatic meter reading, billing and power purchase, testing, and all this has been controlled through the centralized ERP process. These applications were hosted in MSEDCL's data centers. We were having a data center at Mumbai and a disaster recovery site in Nagpur. And these data centers were tier 3 data centers, which were ISO 27001 certified. You can see the IT infrastructure at MSEDCL, roughly 300 servers, some 80 odd networking equipments, then 200 terabytes of storage. So this much of workload was there. It's a kind of a huge setup, and similar sort of setup was there at the disaster recovery site, because we were having an equal size disaster recovery site in order to maintain the business continuity. Now, the data center is built in under RAPDRP project of Government of India in the year 2011-12. And in last, when in 2018, when we were thinking of refreshment of this data center infrastructure, that time we thought about the moving on the cloud. As Mr. Mishra was mentioning, the distribution utilities business is to supply the power to the consumer and not to maintain the IT infrastructure. By developing this type of IT infrastructure, it was another task for the utility people to have an IT expertise, not only on the software side, but also on the hardware side. Secondly, there were the issues of the hardware getting obsolete. So we need to bother about end of sale, end of support of the hardware. Then if at all any hardware is failed, then the procurement life cycle was again a very big life cycle. Various approvals and all those processes were involved in procurement of hardware. And thirdly, we were having the maintenance and support contract with the system integrators and OEMs with some SLA. Though those SLA were there, but the downtime was unavoidable. There were downtime always, and that was causing the business discontinuity. So these all issues were there, and in last 2 3 years, the cloud service providers were available in India. Earlier, the cloud service providers were hosting their data centers in foreign countries, USA or Europe. So that was having one a big mental block in our Indian view, that confidentiality of the data and the privacy of data. But with Amazon and then Microsoft, when they started their data centers in India with all non-disclosure agreements, this made us to move on the cloud. Secondly, with the cloud, the another benefit which we were looking is of the cost of ownership, total cost of ownership. With as you all are you are aware that whenever we are having our own data center, we used to keep servers and these things available for every small and big applications. There were the separate servers were running, and the usage of this hardware was not to that optimum extent. So this has by moving on, we thought that by moving on cloud, this will reduce our the overall footprint of the IT infra. Secondly, the investment on the DR, that will also get reduced, because we were maintaining the DR of equal size, and which was very occasionally used. Rather, as per MSEDCL's experience in last 7 years, we have to use the DR site only once in complete 7 year span. So that costing was, actually speaking, the overhead to the overall system. So to reduce the total cost of ownership is the one of the major driving factor of moving on cloud. Thirdly, about getting the operational reliability, because as I just now mentioned that even though we were having the SLAs with the existing OEM, but the business discontinuity was unavoidable. With by moving on cloud, we are getting now the actually high availability and improvement in the performance also. So earlier we used to bother about obsolescence of hardware. Now actually when we went on cloud, this we high availability has ensured us there is no problem of any technology obsolescence, or rather we are able to make use of new technology as and when they are available. Then I'll quickly run through the cloud procurement and migration process. Before going on the cloud, what we did, we organized the workshops to understand the cloud technology, because it was completely new for India and as well as for our staff also. So we did some workshops with the Amazon and other cloud partners to understand how this cloud computing works. Then we carried proof of concepts with Amazon. After getting the satisfaction on those proof of concept, we decided to finally decided on moving on the cloud, and then preparation of RFP started, because this RFP is little bit different than our standard RFP of procurement of hardware. This while preparing this RFP, we have to introspect our existing landscape. uh, we have to study the application stack, for which application will be requiring the fixed infrastructure, for how many applications we can go on a service model, and what type of SLA has to be taken in the RFP. Then what are the managed services which actually we required, which are the services which can manage internally, and for the services we should get from the cloud service partner. And accordingly, price and cost discovery models are decided, plus some advanced services which actually we are not currently using, but those are available with the AWS. Once the RFP is finalized, and the cloud partner is on board, the post RFP award processes, what we did is the first step is the training and certification to our staff on the cloud technology. The second important step we took is the re-architecting our legacy systems to leverage modern technologies. This I'll be giving more clearance on next slide. Yeah. So the cloud migration approach was like this. First, we discovered all our applications. Then we decided that out of these applications, how many applications are actually we required. Because as you all are aware, we used to develop the application as and when the requirement comes. And many of those applications are used for a very particular limited time frame, and afterwards their usage are not there. but still those applications were engaging some infrastructure, hardware infrastructure, as well as your licenses also. So we have to revisit all of our applications, which applications we want to actually continue, and which applications can be decommissioned or can be retired. Second factor was that when we develop an application, we develop the application with the platform and the technologies available at that time. And over the period, we continue with that technology. Like in MSEDCL, there were many applications which were on still were on database like 10G, or application server like Java 1.4, 1.6, and we never bothered to migrate it to the latest database or latest application server technology, because that was not needed at all that time. Now with in this migration path, what we did, first we decided all those applications which actually we require, and out of that, then we found out how many applications are there which can be directly hosted on the cloud. That is sort of a lift and shift without doing any architectural change or any platform change. Second level was the few applications which were required to move on the cloud, but those required re-platforming. Like I mentioned, to upgrade the Java version or upgrade the database version. And the third option was to retire the application completely, and to either to redevelop it or to have any cost solution. So accordingly, the applications were segregated in these three areas, and after that, the process of moving them on the cloud. So there are wherein the Amazon has helped us enormously. There were two ways of moving on the cloud. One is to use the automated migration tools, or for some applications we require the manual movement of the that application to the cloud. Post migration to the cloud, then again the cycle of validation, then transition, and then to moving it to the production. So you can see here that earlier, when it was on our own data center, there were 80 odd HP Unix servers, then 48 Windows servers, and 13 Linux servers. These all are now re-hosted and re-platformed with 101 Linux servers and 44 Windows servers. So this minimizes the types of the operating system we otherwise used to manage. Number two aspect is of the hardware sizing. Usually we do the hardware sizing when we were maintaining it on prem. That time the hardware sizing was done by considering the growth of the system for the next 5 to 7 years. Number one, and number two, by considering the peak load requirement. But as you all know, the MSCD, any utility application, the peak load is not always 24 by 365. It is very rarely the peak load comes, but rest of the time the system remains idle. So your resources were unused for maximum course of time. So now with the facility of the cloud, we can have the resources as and when required. We can manage the resources whenever there is a peak, whenever the system is off peak, that time the system resources were taken away. So this has given the big level of flexibility of on-demand availability of resources. Third important benefit which we got from this cloud architecture is that the high availability. At Amazon, all these applications and the database are hosted in a two high available zones. That is available zone 1 and availability of zone 2. So actually this is how we are getting 99.99% of availability. All applications are always available on both the zones. So this is just about one application, that is online cash collection system. This application I specifically mentioned because this application is running at each and every collection center of MSEDCL. There are roughly 5,000 collection centers all across the state, wherein consumer is making physical payment by means of cash. All those collection centers are connected to the this central online cash collection system. So whenever there are the due dates of bills, there is always a huge rush of consumers, and system was asking for more and more resources to manage the throughput. So by this availability zones, the performance of the end user, I mean at the end collection center, is tremendously improved, and there is a big satisfaction to consumer as well as to the collection center counter person. The cloud migration plan, if you can see, in the first phase, that is phase one, that it is a study phase where all the applications are being studied, then business processes are identified, then all the databases, software, hardware, then dependency of the applications and softwares are identified. Here we also identified many bugs in our software. Bugs in the sense not from the business but from the architectural bugs. In many places, people used to do hard coding. They used to put the IP addresses in the main code as it is. So those are not the best practices for development of any software. So by this study, we could make our all applications as per the best practices standards. So this is the assessment phase. After this assessment phase, then we did the planning for migration, wherein the dependencies as identified in the assessment, as per that dependency, the sequence of applications, because it was not possible to move all the workload in one go to the cloud. It has to be in a step-by-step manner. So few applications were running on prem and few applications were on cloud. So we have to identify that dependency and integration between those systems. So after this dependency is identified, then we prepare the scripts for user acceptance. Then establishing a link between the cloud as well as the on-prem. One more point which I just missed out, that in this whole process, we also maintain one copy of data at MSEDCL end. So all the data which is getting generated at the cloud is getting replicated at the MSEDCL end also. The second part of the phase is the migration phase, which is actually 6 to 8 months process. This depends on the size of the workload. So in our case, it was 6 to 8 months. In this phase, the processes are, one is the pre-build process, then wherein all backup is being done, then determinations of VPC, NG, IAM, RBC, and the security part, then creation of VM and testing of the migration tools. The next stage is to build these applications actually to the cloud. That is by either by lift and shift as per that migration path, or then application replatforming, fixes due to platforming, because there were some bugs were identified when we re-platform the applications from old version to new version, or from operating system changes like HPUX to Linux. The next stage was the user acceptance test. It is a standard user acceptance process, operational acceptance, defect acceptance management, and mitigation and remediation to the defects. And the last stage was going live and to operate the cloud. Post migration benefit, as I said, the most important is the uptime of SLA. The second, this with this cloud, Amazon has provided us the monitoring dashboard. So monitoring of infrastructure has become very simple job now. Earlier, otherwise, it was a Herculean task to monitor for each database, their table space and data allocation of data files, and then redo log files and all those. This monitoring tool, a single dashboard, is now has help us in monitoring these systems very easily. Thirdly, we need not to bother about the hardware health as such, because that has been taken care by Amazon. We just have to monitor the uptime of the system. Total cost saving, I'll say that it is at present it is a bit early to quantify the cost saving actually, because we have just went live on this thing. But yes, there is a cost saving on the other allied services also. I can say some non-tangible benefit, because on-prem we have to maintain that ACs and DG sets, then building management systems and all those. This has considerably reduced. On IT infra, the cost saving will in near future will come to know the actual cost saving. But by way of consolidation, there is already some cost saving is there. I can give you the one example of our main system, that is consumer billing system. The consumer billing system for this, we we have a centralized consumer billing system for all 30 million consumers. Daily, we are generating bills on an average 10 lakhs of consumers bills we are generating. Earlier, on-prem, it was taking 4 to 6 hours time for generating all those 10 lakhs bills. Now, these bills are getting generated within 2 hours. And most importantly, earlier this billing software was hosted on machines with 96 cores. Now this billing software at Amazon Cloud is on VM of 64 crores. So 32 core saving is already there with the performance improvement, two-third performance improvement. So this is the cost saving. This cost saving will be able to quantify in near time. This time to procurement of new IT hardware is also reduced, because after migrating to the cloud, there were few new requirement came, and for those new requirement, we can assign the hardware literally on a phone call or email basis. Otherwise, we used to follow that complete procurement, tendering, and all those process. That has reduced substantially. System response time has been incredibly improved, which I mentioned with that example of billing software. The next focus will be, we are working with Amazon on this. We want to improve our customer engagements. Then on other IT innovations. Secondly, we are working on the OT transformation. So here in OT transformation, otherwise we have to build the complete end-to-end system on our own. Now we will be exploring the platform and technologies available with the cloud partner, and we have to just focus on the end devices. So lot of botheration on investment on the adopting a new technology or development of the new technology has been saved through this. So these are the areas where we are now focusing mainly. So this is in short. By paucity of time, I quickly run through you all. But if anyone will have any specific doubts or that, at MSEDCL we welcome you for understanding the complete process and getting the know-hows.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gadkari, for sharing your migration journey at MSEDCL to cloud. And we request you to please stay with us while we move on to a panel discussion. May I introduce our moderator for the panel? Can we have the slide, please? Shivani? So we will have a panel discussion with our utility CISOs on the topic, and will be moderated by Ms. Deepti Dutt from AISPL. And I'll request Ms. Dutt to introduce the other panelists while I take a minute to introduce Ms. Dutt. Ms. Dutt, with over 19 years of work experience, she is focusing on strategic initiatives for India. Yes, and current focus areas are smart infrastructure, cities, utilities and transport, digital agriculture, and government tech programs. And she's heading the strategic initiatives public sector with Amazon Internet Services Private Limited. Over to you, Deepti.
Thanks, Reena. Thanks for the nice intro. Let me welcome other panel members, and I would request each one of them to put on their videos. First, let me invite Mr. Rajiv Pharlia. He's a senior general manager with Power Finance Corporation. I hope Mr. Pharlia is able to switch on his video and his audio as well. My next panelist is Mr. AP Singh. He is the CISO Security Chief Information Security Officer at UPPCL. Welcome, Mr. AP Singh. If you can please switch on your video and your audio. And my final panelist, again, he needs no introduction. He just gave a wonderful presentation to all of us, Mr. Yogesh Gadkari, Executive Director, Billing and Revenue at MSEDCL. So, sir, if you can again please switch on your video and your audio, that will be helpful to all of us. So with that, let me get started. Mr. AP Singh, if I can start with you, we just heard Mr. Gadkari talk about their journey in cloud adoption. UPPCL also has started to, experiment with cloud and move some of the workloads and solutions to cloud. Can you share some insights on what are those solutions and what prompted you to move those to AWS?
Yeah, thank you, Deepti. And I really appreciate the effort of ISGF and AWS to organize this webinar for the benefit of all of us. And I really congratulate Mr. Gadkari for their, eventful journey and really which has benefited MSEDCL and has a transformative effect across India because of his leadership. Mr. Gadkari has been a leader in utility IT sector. I just want to congratulate again. So as you said, we have also started with the, in fact, we started a bit early in 2014. We moved to AWS for our all of the consumer interface, consumer related services, particularly 1912 kind of services where consumer interact with us with our 4 customer care centers spread across UP. So the solution, the application runs on AWS. The rest of the things like call connects and call centers, that is with us. So that journey started with AWS and cloud at that time. Last 3, 4, 5 years we have been doing, and really I am satisfied with the kind of performance that only the cloud services can provide. Because of the peaking, whenever the power supply goes off, there are a lot of rush of the calls, and we have to serve a lot of consumers whenever there are breakdowns or other kind of natural calamities like storms and other things. So then cloud services really help to scale up the necessary infrastructure we need at that time. So coming back to the legacy system, why? What were the drivers earlier? not to move towards the cloud services, because clouds really started in around 2013 when Azure came to India, and we actually took an opportunity to move to some of our applications on cloud, but that was not really right time, because one of the drivers was the funding agencies we have at the central level. Most of the time, utilities are dependent on the central funding agencies for the funds, and they have a particular policy measure that prompted to have the capex mode of the IT investments rather than this OPEX mode of, and that basically became a roadblock to adopt the cloud, because that was in OPEX mode, and the funding was in capex mode, where you need to buy servers and other softwares for you. So, but still, we moved in 2016 on cloud for our some part of our billing applications in the rural area. So RAP-DRP started in a big way, and RAP-DRP was a turning point in the IT application deployment in utilities. So that evolution is started, and perhaps at that time, the cloud services were also evolving. Earlier, when the cloud services started, they were primarily for infrastructure as a service, and later on, some platform as a service is started. But still, I see as it is infrastructure as a service is largely the area they serve. But perhaps that is good. But I mean that helps a lot, helps utilities or other organization like that to have that kind of I mean the requirement we have for the cloud. But actually, the real benefit of cloud comes, as earlier panelist or speaker said, as a service, when IT services are provided as service. For example, the analytics as a service. We tried a bit as a POC for analytics as a service, and we tried analytics services to have a cross section of different type of creating warehouses. It is very easy to create warehouses when you use the services for warehousing, and then it becomes easy to go for the analytics, and we have created the kind of warehouses you need. So that way, cloud services were evolving. Still, they have to evolve. As I recall, Mr. Kaul said that how can they help grow us further? So that would be one area when you, I would suggest that would be one area when you have some kind of, cross-functional expertise with you, or we move on to your side, cloud services, then we develop use cases for having more applications that benefit in the form of services. That is very important. Recently, actually, we we had a lot of problem with our collection channels. And we are large state and large population, just largest state it is. And we have a lot problem with the collection efficiency kind of. We have only say 15-20% efficiency in rural areas because of the low collection channel availability. So we moved we created our wallet system, and then we onboarded agencies and agents, kind of agency agent model and prepaid model. So that helped, and that we did on the cloud. So and the one big advantage I see, because nowadays when the requirement from the management of utilities comes that this application should be developed and that should be developed within this time frame, and normally that time frame is too short. So then arranging the infrastructure and deciding on the which application, the platform, and which what softwares we need. So that becomes a big problem. So with cloud being there, so that helps us a lot. You can quickly decide about the application. You can even quickly, quit that application if it doesn't work, or if it works, you can scale up that very fast. So, I mean, the agility in software application development and deployment increases tremendously. So that is my take. And as we know, the on-premise in-house infrastructure is rigid, and with government model of procurement, it becomes really difficult to be agile. So there it helps. But as Mr. Gadkari said, reskilling and retraining is very important, and perhaps utilities have to go a long time before, I mean, their utilities in-house skill to handle the cloud develops, and a lot of work needs to be done. And perhaps cloud service providers like AWS would help the utilities staff also to gain expertise and experience in this regard. But a word of caution here: there is AWS, there are other cloud service providers, there are many other service providers. They claim to be the cloud service providers. When we go for tendering, they also come, and it really becomes difficult for us because they are also mighty approved. They fulfill several other pre-qualification requirement, but we cannot expect that level of service levels which really big service providers like Amazon or others provide. So that sometime creates a big problem because with cloud comes a lot of expectations, and people generally thinks everything will happen on the fly, but that kind of service provider really becomes a roadblock. So we have to find some solution to that also. We are basically infrastructure as a service provider, and they claim to be all kind of service providers. So that is my take, because we have had that experience also recently. Really, I mean, in difficult situation. So that's from my side. I congratulate again Mr. Gadkari and thanks ISGF and AWS to organize. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have a couple of takeaways from what you mentioned. I mean, it's glad to know that you started your journey way back in 2016, and the first applications that you chose were actually, where they're subject to peaks and troughs. That when consumer load increases, you need to. Very typical example of where you need kind of auto scalability and those kind of things. And another, interesting point I noted from what you mentioned was, and what in AWS we say that AWS is designed to help you fail fast, fail smart. You want to experiment, try out new things. There's no cost really involved in doing that. You're not really committing to some high-end things. And so very well noted your point that one needs to differentiate between true cloud service providers versus what people claim to when they convert capex cost to opex. Is that really a cloud? So yes, a very well taken point, sir. Let me move on to Mr. Rajiv Pharlia. Please tell us what is PFC's view on cloud adoption in utilities? Any near-term implementations you're planning on cloud, and what are the drivers behind the decision?
It is not very often seen that DISCOMs are encouraged by these new technologies. So few of them, basically to name it, like Maharashtra, when it comes to
Rajiv, I guess you are logged in from two devices. If you can switch off one, then there will be no echo. You are logged in from two devices, so we can hear echo. You please switch off from one.
Okay, just a moment. Okay, just a moment. Is it okay now?
Mr. Rajiv, if you can guide us which device you want to switch off, we can do it from our end.
Yeah, I think on the computer.
Can we remove your computer device?
Yeah.
You're now live from your mobile device.
Yeah, I am live from mobile device. Right. Shall I continue?
Yes, please, you may continue, sir.
But still,
speak more closer to the device. We cannot hear you well.
Okay. So as I said, that DISCOM side basically.
So let us fix the audio problem. Deepti, in the meantime, you can move to the next speaker. We'll come back to Rajiv.
Yeah, sure. I'll move on. Mr. Gadkari, I had this question lined up for you, and I also see a lot of similar question coming on in the chat window. What were your thoughts behind security and data privacy when you started your cloud journey? And how do you think of your current security posture on AWS? Do you think it's better than what it was earlier? What would be your advice that other utilities and government agencies who have concerns about security and data privacy on cloud?
Yeah, earlier the concerns were mainly from the legal angle about the data confidentiality and the data privacy. We were having the concern that whether this data will get disclosed with other countries and all those, whether there will be some, how it will be governed by the Indian law or US law, like that. So those were the concerns. But when we studied the MeitY empanelment, then even government of Maharashtra IT department empanelment, and the most importantly the workshop which we did with Amazon. So with that, we got the confidence that yes, our data will be completely secured and will not get disclosed anywhere without MSEDCL's consent. So that was the to answer your first question. Then secondly, about the security stack. So existing security stack is, I'll say it is better compared to the on-prem security stack, because even here also we have the DDoS system, then next generation firewall, then your web application firewall, then SIM system, that is security information and event management system. Everything is being deployed. We are able to set up the sorry, yeah, we
Please
are
go ahead. Someone else is talking, so there's some attendees who are not on mute and they're talking in the back.
are available on demand now, which were not facilitated earlier. So whenever we want to add any additional security feature, that is easily adoptable after we. So I hope this clears your query.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, sir. I think, what we have been hearing actually is, and globally, this is a trend. This reminds me of a statement made by Mr. Tony Scott, former CIO of US federal government, where he actually compared that, moving to cloud is pretty much like you move to bank, right? You're keeping your valuables at home versus keeping in banks, because cloud service providers actually have a dedicated team that just focuses on security. And also at AWS, whatever security controls we design for the most security sensitive clients globally, be it the likes of FINRA or NASA or CIE, all those is inherited by each and every customer of AWS. So I think, it's time that, forward thinkers like yourself are realizing and people move to cloud for better security posture, and one should not resist cloud because of security. Is Mr. Rajiv Pharlia, are you back on the call? So,
Dipti? Hello, Dipti?
yes, sir.
Yeah, just here I want to add more to that. Now even we are thinking to take our M2M database, that is machine database, our substation monitoring system, then AMR system. Those are also we are now taking to the cloud because of this security facility available, and which is more secured. And in the last week itself, I had a meeting with IG Cyber Cell, Government of Maharashtra. There was an incident of power outage in Maharashtra on 12th of October. So he called me to whether there is any cyber incident behind this, cyber attack incident behind this. So that time with the discussion with him, I told him that how my system is safe and secured at Amazon, and we are planning to move our all machine and equipment data, real-time data on the cloud, because to maintain it at on-prem, because it is not always completely up to mark security system. As I was mentioning, whatever security system or whatever product we were buying, it was there for next 5 years. But with Amazon now, whatever new security features are available, even I can tell you about the patch management of the various operating system, which were never happening when we were on-prem. The security patches released by the OS OEM or database OEM, those were never get applied on the system. But with this on the cloud, this is also being handled by the partner very well.
Thank you for adding that, sir. That's like really very helpful that, not just IT system, but you're looking at moving OT systems also on AWS, on cloud. So that's actually, I think that will, again, you lead the path for rest of the DISCOMs in taking that initiative. Mr. Rajiv Pharlia, are you back on the call now?
Have a talk on the, as audible this thing is concerned, we will have a discussion.
Yes, I can hear you clearly now. So,
Yeah.
in the interest of time, let me, get you to this question of CAPEX versus OPEX, right? Mr.
Yeah.
APC mentioned, and some people have posted in the question window also, that funding schemes encourage CAPEX investment. OPEX for cloud is not covered under the scheme. It's not really to India, but there is a regulatory precedence in US now that allows for capitalizing the cloud expense. So what would be your advice to DISCOMs that may be contemplating move to cloud but hold back because of this reason? That's number one. And number two, if you can talk about, are there any specific cloud-based projects that you are contemplating in near future, and what would be your key drivers behind that?
Yeah, to start with, I would like to say that actually in the IT intervention in Government of India, particularly in distribution sector, started with the AP, that too in a small scale, like basic metering billing and also a few SCADAs. Okay. Thereafter, it was carried forward to the RAP DRP system, where we have installed basically 20 data centers across India, full-fledged for MBC and other things. But it is all totally CAPEX based. And there are, beyond that, basically, there are SCADA systems which are also developed and designed and established in 57 towns as on date, although it is 59 total. But that was a time when CAPEX was prevalent and this technology did not exist much, right? Because we are talking about 10 years back and all those things. While we implement these systems, we found a lot of we make in this journey. Now, first one is, this is the system of utility, and who is the owner? Owner is the utility. Now, but they are not having equipped manpower. I'm not naming everyone because few utilities are too good. They are all, but most of the cases, I would say that it is like that. Basically, they don't have manpower. It's not their this thing demerit, but it's a constraint, I would say. And now they are not able to maintain their operate. Now, second thing is, what about the change management? Once you install the system, there is a change management required from time to time. Like, for example, database updation, field information updation, GIS data, okay, network changes. All these GIS data is 6 or 7 months old. It literally becomes, useless in case of distribution sector. 6 to 7 months is a good amount of time. So it is important that the frequency of updation be good. That is the another part which is that's a bread and butter basically of the utility. But somehow that is also not taken, into that account. That is not that fast. Upkeeping of the network. That is the communication part I'm talking about. Maybe whatever it is, there are multiple reasons: modem failure, CTPT problems. All these things are also a part of this particular this thing. Then, if I come to the reliability, again, DMS network is another part which is one more important part which is there. Like you see that when we are, whether it is a capex based or opex based system, it has to be cyber secure. We have been telling all the utilities where the system has been implemented cyber security, and it has to be regularly cyber audited by certain agencies basically. Now what is there, because of the limitations and understanding, this is not carried out quite frequently and the time when it is required to do. So that is another thing, exposing your system to the vulnerability. Next one is physical control center requirement. Now there is a, I would say, when there is a requirement of establishment of capex system, you have to available. So it takes time basically to build up the civil works and other infrastructure requirement which are required to be done. So it takes a longer time. Then inventory, as I think everything touched on that, rightly pointed out, there is obsolescence basically. There is a problem of any component which gets obsoleted after certain time. It is not available. Then you look for that particular thing and it is not available, and you lose a lot of appreciable time and money in that. We thought that it has to be done, that there should be minimal intervention of the DISCOM. It has to be service-based model where end-to-end solution should be there. What is required to be seen by the DISCOM is basic availability and design. For example, to be document, what kind of system it has to be there. What is as is, what is presently, how do we migrate it to. So two things which we need to do by the DISCOM. Rest has to be taken care by the, or what we can system integrator in consortium with CSP. So my take is it has to be service as a software services. That option will be basically good for utility to follow. But there is a which we have in Government of India. Right now we are can fund on the capex based models. But there are talks going on about the OPEX model, which some proposal has gone from, that is being thought of. I hope that some fruitful outcome will come. Everybody has to change with the times, basically. The technology, times, everything. So I think there should be some level of OPEX which are going to be considered, but we have to wait and watch for some time because it is under, I cannot comment right now. These are the drivers basically, and because of this, we have thought of basically bringing this capex OPEX based model, software as services, into this particular aspect. So I think this driver part I have told you, the OPEX and capex part, that utility, if they can, they have some fund availability, and till the time Government of India comes with the proposal of OPEX, if they can do, then they should go for OPEX. They can sustain on their own. But if they don't, then they can use for the time being OPEX later on. That is what I would like to tell, that if they want to do it, it should be forward looking thing. So these are this is the second thing which I just wanted to tell. So it is both yes, but condition based. What is your requirement? What are the conditions which are going to drive? So this is what I just wanted to say from that. Thank you.
Sure, so thank you. I think, and to audience, I would request that keep typing your questions in chat window. I'm also trying to club some of the questions as that you are posing to the panelists as I ask the question. So, for example, Mr. Pharlia and Mr. Gadkari mentioned talk about security, right? And there's a question from audience that it's kind of become a diplomatic tool to have the cyber security. And one of the conversations that I was having with Mr. Pharlia, actually, they are looking at moving certain states to a hyperscale cloud provider because of the security concerns, and they believe that cloud would be more secure. And Mr. Gadkari also talked about that, how they find cloud more secure. So I think all the more reason that now that cybersecurity is kind of becoming a diplomatic warfare means also, cybersecurity and therefore hyperscale cloud providers make so much more sense. On the question of capex opex, Mr. Gadkari, you took the forward call and you moved. How did you manage the funding issues with all opex expenses? So if you can just share one or two lines on that, probably a lot of people are asking that question. So since you have gone for complete opex based model, how did you manage to get the financing part sorted out for that?
Yeah, actually, as I was telling you, the complete business of MSEDCL is now on IT system. So to maintain the IT system on a latest technology is really required. So for that funding, there were two options available. One is through Government of India's IPDS scheme, but that scheme was available only for capex investment. And after doing the complete due diligence, we have already decided that we'll be moving on a cloud instead of on-prem, and, and it will be an OPEX model. So we requested Government of India to do the funding for that project also, but we didn't wait for that, and we understand our management understand the importance of the IT system. They also understand moving on cloud is the call of the time. So we decided to move on the on through our own funds for the this cloud movement on OPEX model, because the cost involved in this against the cost of this against the revenue of 80,000 crores. So the criticality and the benefits will be getting through cloud quite more. So our management decided that yes, will not wait for Government of India's confirmation for OPEX funding, but we'll definitely move on the cloud.
Great point. So I think thanks for adding that. Since DISCOMs are the revenue generating arm of the entire electricity distribution chain, and if you really weigh how much of investment that you need to do in cloud versus benefit that you get, I think the benefits far outweigh. So again, your visionary leadership, you could do it. I had lot many questions for the panelists, but in interest of time, what I'll do is I'll move now from challenges and myths to implementation prioritization and way ahead. Mr. AP Singh, if I can start with you, what would your advice to utilities if they're considering a phased approach for cloud adoption? What would you suggest that how they prioritize which solutions to go for first and what path one should take?
Yes, as far as meeting out the challenges is concerned, every utility has its own, peculiar or specific conditions. So under those circumstances, they have to decide what kind of applications, what kind of performance from the applications they want, and what is the time frame basically. The smaller applications, like as I share my own, my own condition here, we have around 30-40 small portal applications which are already on the cloud model, or different data centers. So we first thought of consolidating all those applications, smaller applications, to one one particular cloud, so that we have a common user database. We do not need to replicate the user database again, and some other databases which as of now over the time as they evolved, they are repeated in different conditions in different places. So first we can consolidate the smaller applications, and when we develop confidence, we can think of migrating the larger applications like billing applications, which are a bit complicated and may require more homework or greater effort in that migration. So, and always, that kind of migration would require some kind of interruption or changes that may be problematic at some point in time. So, having moving some applications which are non-critical and which can be, there can be some, they can meet all the emergencies, and without with their interruptions also, we can move those kind of things as we are doing that. And moreover, the further the more advanced kind of applications they can be taken up from the very beginning, like if we want to use blockchain or we want to use analytic services. So as of now we are if we are having on some hosted infrastructure where we need a lot of compute infrastructure to operate them, and there we need kind of very large compute requirement. For example, say 200 cores and 800 GB RAM. So that if we move to cloud where we can have the services kind of thing, and where the CSP invests in that kind of infrastructure and they just provide services like blockchain services. So that those applications can also be moved. So that is my take, and it depends on the utility which applications they want to move for. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we are hearing two approaches, and both are both are good approaches. So what UPPCL is, what Mr. AP Singh is saying, UPPCL is doing is that they're moving first the customer-facing applications which have a lot of variability, and new applications that are getting developed that need latest technology or high compute. They're moving that, and what MSEDCL has done is they decided to even move the core application and the entire thing together to cloud. So I think both approaches are prevalent, and it's up to a DISCOM to decide what they are comfortable with and which approach they want. Both approaches working perfectly fine. With this, Mr. Pharlia, let me ask you this question. So far we've been discussing DISCOM, and we see good traction building in DISCOM amongst DISCOM for cloud adoption. Do you see what's your viewpoint on cloud adoption for generation and transmission utilities?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, if you see that generation and transmission is being managed in India mostly by the CPSUs, right? Like for Power Grid and NTPC, ISPC. So they have, a better infrastructure to deal with the IT application, IT OT platform and all. Whereas distribution system is basically lagging behind from if we see IT intervention is concerned from generation and transmission. If we see automation part, generation and transmission, we see that 100% system generators as well as transmission line substation, EHV substation, all are automated. Okay, mostly. So 100% automation there. But in distribution sector, we see it is almost 1%, 2% of towns which are having automation SCADA-like applications and other things. So it is very long way to travel, basically. Now, when we talk about CapEx and cloud-based model, because of the resources constraint, distribution system definitely requires basically this kind of model. But as far as transmission and distribution generation is concerned, they may think because they have certain system in place already, they have infrastructure, good teams and infrastructure placement. So they may opt for this kind of capex based model. They have been using capex based model for quite a long time, and so far also they are using it, because in whether it is matter of generating a generator which is basically controlled by DDC MIS systems or SCADA systems, and EHV substations, RLDCs, SLDCs which we are having across these are already all equipped with the basic SCADA system automation system. They have a good strength team. They have their benchmarks set. They have some SOPs defined properly, so they can deal with this. They can manage their own on their own. But yes, if they future if they want to go for this kind of OPEX model, then they can think of. But again, my take on this will be this: they have to be basically they have to guard their system on security part, because there is a bulk transfer of energy which is basically very susceptible to collapse a grid. So that has to be basically taken care well by the cloud service provider. The data should belong to the utility, and it has to in premises basically. That is what I think for generation and transmission part. For distribution, I have already conveyed my views. That is right. It is an opportune time when we should take this kind of software as a services based model. So this is apt for distribution part more than generation and transmission. I would say that. Thank you.
Sure, so point noted. There's another question from audience, which I think I'll pass on to you, Mr. Pharlia, because we've been having similar conversations. So there's a question from audience which says, won't a centrally hosted cloud solution be more efficient in terms of scale than doing a state level implementation? Can that work for DISCOM serving lower number of consumers more efficiently? So sir, do you want to comment on that, and what maybe some thoughts with PHC on, some of the lower DISCOM with smaller number of consumers, any thoughts around having a common centralized platform?
That's right. Like for example, in Northeast, there are small states basically. The size of small states are very small. Now there we can have a bouquet of one control center where all other 5, 6 states can be hosted together, yet having different partition basically. Physical possession of control center or physical placement of the control center is not important. Can be in anywhere in Bangalore, Noida, Gurgaon, anywhere. But the data basically it has to be partitioned for each DISCOM. And if we see, like we have done also done some calculations, if we see that if there are more consumers, volume of consumer is better, then cost economics is better basically for hosting a cloud. So if we could group multiple utilities together, particularly where they have common interests like regional interests, so then they can be worked out. But yes, for the bigger moderate size of states and DISCOMs and bigger states, yeah, it has to be then state level or DISCOM level concept.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting that. For smaller DISCOM, you are considering some kind of a shared platform, and I think that data partition, that's something that can definitely be worked out. That can be done in cloud environment where you do a common application level, but partition at database level. I think we are coming at the fag end of the session. So one request I would have is, if each one of you, while we have been discussing so far challenges and roadmap from DISCOM's perspective, I would request each one of you, if you can, share a one-line advice to larger industry members. We have lots of industry representations here. So how can industry help DISCOM expedite adoption of frontier technologies? So Mr. AP Singh, if I can start with you, what would your advice be to the industry to help you on this journey?
Industry, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure the pointing of the question, but industry as such, there's IT industry. If you point out, then they can help us in the form of services. Utilities want to for adoption of cloud services, cloud CSPs, and the other industries, like I'm not sure what where the question is leading to. What kind of industries? I mean, what the help we need?
Specific IT industry, if you can talk about, do you think IT industry needs to do something differently so that you can go faster in adoption of frontier technology?
It's a basically journey which we will travel together, and somehow the mutual learning would help, and that's the point I would like to mention. And more interaction and more, having this kind of interaction would help perhaps understand better, and mutual learning from the experiences of each other would expedite the process of adoption of cloud.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gadkari, would you have a one-line advice that, what is it that IT industry can do to help DISCOMs expedite their frontier technology journey?
Yeah. So one line advice or one line expectations from the IT industry is that till now IT industry were focusing on mainly on the commercial applications. So I expect that now IT industry should focus towards the OT applications mainly, wherein because unless a DISCOM gets a complete visibility from generation to consumer, starting from generation transmission to the end consumer level, unless that real-time visibility is not available, distribution utility cannot improve its business processes. So I expect from the industry that industry should help the DISCOMs in improving this operational technology mainly.
Thank you, sir.
AJ and Reji under his leadership, ISGF is doing this job, but yet to mature, I'll say. So that is very much expected, Reji. And thanks for your support, Reji.
Thank you very much. I look forward to. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we should thank ISGF. Both the points what Mr. AP Singh made was, having more industry consultation in these kind of workshops, and what you mentioned, sir, of having OT. And last question to Mr. Pharlia, what would your advice or request be to the IT industry to help expedite the journey?
See, my advice to IT industry to approach more and more with the utilities, first of all, to educate them, create a confidence building is a very important thing among DISCOMs, because there is always apprehension adopting a new technology. Even capex base also, it took a longer time. You know that you have, ISGF has closely seen that our journey in capex based model also. So this is very important to approach utilities to make know-how about the technology and infuse confidence in them. Number one. Number two is basically interoperability. If today one cloud service provider or one application is there, if I do some exit from that particular system, then I should not be suddenly standing on crossroads. So that has to be very, very important. The exit management has to be very, very very swift, basically. Otherwise, there will be a problem. So far, it is running, it is okay, but when exit management is there, then it becomes a problem. So it has to be swift. Then third one is get into the real-time applications also. So far, we are talking about the MVCs and other things. In true sense, those are not real-time applications. Like, for example, we are talking about RTDS, SCADA, DMS, these applications I am talking about. So these also should come into this, particularly I'm talking about the distribution sector. May not be transmission or generation right now, but distribution sector I'm talking about.
Well noted, sir. I think that resonates with what Mr. Gadkari also mentioned, that the need to also now start looking at OT system. Thank you, sir. I think that resonates with what Mr. Gadkari also mentioned, that we need to move from IT to OT system also coming on to latest technology on cloud, and I'm sure we'll work with each one of you on taking that. And again, the educating, infusing confidence, exit management. I think those are good pointers. We'll work again closely with all the DISCOMs and policymakers on that. I think, with that, we have come to end of a session. Most of the questions I have tried to cover as part of the question that I posed to the panel. In interest of time, I think I'll skip any more questions. Just to summarize the meaningful, interesting discussions that we had, we looked at that how we need to look at cloud, not just from initial investment perspective, but overall advantages that you get because you're really running a business which generates revenue for rest of the utility value chain, right? So what is cloud investment, latest technology really required versus the overall revenue that you have the potential of generating. Then we had interesting discussions on how security is actually, cyber security is driving now DISCOMs to adopt cloud rather than that being a concern. So everyone who's moved forward, they've actually moved for better security rather than not moved because of concerns of security. That's a mix that we all need to work closely on. And then, we had some interesting closing remarks on now it's time for not just IT, but OT also to move on to cloud. So I think with those observations, I will hand it back to Reena for her vote of thanks. Thank you so much for being such wonderful participants. I know we have overshot by almost 23 minutes, and yet you all have stayed on, been very interactive, posted questions. So thanks so much to all the panelists, all the presenters, and all the participants, all the audience for joining in. Have a very beautiful evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deepti, and thank you so much. Big thank you to all our panelists for an amazing discussion and for their insights and sharing their experiences. So before I start with my vote of thanks, I would request all our participants to please click on the link provided in the chat and share your overall experience about the webinar. That will be very encouraging and will help plan the future deliberations in a more effective way. And moving on to the next slide. So thank you, and I missed introducing myself. I'm Reena Suri, Executive Director with India Smart Grid Forum. Would start by taking this opportunity to extend a big thank you to all our speakers and panelists for today's webinar. Mr. A.K. Mishra from NSGM, Mr. Yogesh Gadkari from MSEDCL, Mr. Rajiv Pharlia from PFC, Mr. A.P. Singh from UPPCL, Mr. Ajay Kaul from AISPL, Mr. Reji Kumar Pillai from ISGF, and last but not the least, our moderator for today's panel, Ms. Deepti Dutt from AISPL, for sharing their experiences and insights and for a thought-provoking discussion. And it was indeed a very interesting panel and was very well moderated by Ms. Dutt. Our enlightened speakers and panelists have covered all aspects and given us various business models available with the utilities to help them migrate to cloud computing, and what are the various capacity building initiatives required to be able to efficiently manage the new system. So thank you so much for that, even though we exceeded the time, but we are taking away a lot of good pointers from this webinar and hope we'll continue this discussion in future. We thank all our participants for your active participation. We got a lot of questions, and due to paucity of time, we are not able to answer all of them, but we'll definitely come back to you with the responses, with recording of the session, as well as sharing the PPT of Mr. Gadkari. And we received an overwhelming response to this webinar, which is very encouraging. We had more than 400 registrations, and more than 200 people are participating with us today. So with that, thank you again to all our esteemed panelists and our moderator, and we really appreciate your time, taking time to participate in this webinar. Last but not the least, big thank you to Amazon Web Services for associating with ISGF and for this webinar, and we hope we'll be able to take this journey forward with a series of such deliberations. With that, those words, Reena Suri, thank you all for being part of this webinar and hope to have your participation in all our future events. Please stay safe and take good care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
See
much.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care.
To everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.